So with the Super Bowl coming up, I just wanted to do a prediction and break the game down from a few different categories. Starting with the past Super Bowl matchup, you did have a pretty close game between the Eagles and Chiefs. You had the Chiefs winning that 38-35, so I think we could likely get another really close competitive matchup. And I think looking at this, the real question is how much different are both the Chiefs and the Eagles from that game. You still have the matchup between Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni. I would give the edge to Andy Reid just due to his overall experience, but I really like what Sirianni has done this year. And then I think another interesting matchup is Vic Fangio and Steve Spagnuolo, really both having some interesting schemes throughout the regular season and throughout the playoffs. I would say that that's pretty evenly matched there as well. And looking at both of the teams' defenses, I think is another crucial matchup here. I do think that both have had the best defenses in the league. You have the Eagles finishing first in terms of points per game, but I do think that that is a little bit misleading, just given the last week of the NFL is when a lot of teams sit their best guys. Prior to the last week of the NFL, you did have the Chiefs being higher than the Eagles actually in terms of points per game. And then I think the next category, I think a real key interest going into the Super Bowl will be what effect Saquon Barkley will have, because he's just such an electric playmaker. He isn't just someone that will get a first down or will break out for a big run. He really has the ability of just taking it all the way, and he just has so much ability, whether it's outrunning guys or moving around them, the different ways he can make people miss. I just think he's an excellent playmaker, and I definitely think that him alone could have a drastic impact on the Super Bowl. I think that he could likely be the reason alone that the Eagles win, if we're looking at the 3 points shy that the Eagles were before. And talking about running, I think a really crucial thing here is that we aren't seeing as strong of a running game from Kansas City. You could maybe make the argument that they have a little bit of an upgrade in terms of having a committee with both Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco now here, but I would say that they are really good for short runs, whether it's getting a score, whether it's getting a first down, but neither of them, maybe Pacheco due to his injury or just more of the style that Kareem Hunt has, I haven't really seen a lot of big runs from either of them so far. That's not to say that they could have a successful game on the ground in terms of getting 5 or 6 yards to really help move the ball, or again just get enough for a first down or get enough to get past the goal line. But I don't think the Chiefs' run game is really going to be that effective here, and there's not as much that they can do as opposed to the Eagles. You also have a lot of designed runs from Jalen Hurts that I think will be effective here and hard to watch out for. I would say another crucial thing in terms of the Chiefs' running game is going to be Patrick Mahomes, because he's really great on taking off on third downs or whenever he sees an opening, and if he's close to the sidelines, he can really do a lot to throw off defenders. But I do think it is a little bit of a hindrance if the Chiefs won't have as strong of a running threat this game. And then I think another thing that has to be addressed, if we're looking at both of their most recent performances, that would be in the championship game, I do think you have to give the edge to the Philadelphia Eagles, even though the Chiefs win against the Bills was really impressive. But really putting up over 50 points in that game for Philadelphia against a Washington Commanders team that just blew out the Lions, I think was a really impressive feature, and we haven't gotten a high score like that from the Chiefs all season. So I think if just looking at how both teams played in the championship, I think that would give the clear edge to Philadelphia. But it does have to be said that the Chiefs are excellent in terms of winning one-score games. So maybe if they were just able to keep it close enough, they could find a way to pull off a win. But I do think that the crucial difference here is that if Philadelphia was in the situation that Buffalo was in at the end of that game, where they were down 3 points but had about just over 3 minutes to get a score of their own. I do think that the Eagles, just due to a lot of the different dimensions and threats that they have offensively, I do think that they would have been able to score in that situation. So I think if something like that came down to it in the Super Bowl, I do see the Eagles scoring a touchdown to win the game there. And in terms of what the game could look like, I think something you do have to look at is how the Chiefs have played in their past 2 Super Bowls, as well as their other Super Bowl performance a few years prior against the 49ers. I would say last year they started a little bit slow against the 49ers. They were down 7 going into halftime, and then you also have the year prior against the Eagles. I believe that they were down 10 by that as well going into halftime, and then the game against the 49ers, you had them down early into the third quarter. So I think it is a pretty consistent pattern with the Chiefs that they start a little bit slower in these Super Bowls, but then they really take over towards the end of the third, end of the fourth quarter. So I think we likely could see that as well, but I think that would be a dangerous pattern to do against the Eagles here. I really think the Eagles could do a lot of damage early, just given all of the different things that they can do offensively. So I think in terms of overall scores, in terms of the amount of touchdowns that we could get from both teams, I do think that this is probably going to be a medium level scoring game. I don't think you're going to have a complete shootout just due to both defensive abilities of both teams, but I don't think you're going to have as low of a scoring game as last Super Bowl. And I think in terms of the Chiefs, I could see them scoring about 3 touchdowns. This could be a Mahomes rushing touchdown. This could also be a rushing touchdown with Kareem Hunt. And then I would maybe give a third touchdown to just a passing touchdown. I could also see the Chiefs kicking 2 field goals as well. But for the Eagles, I do think that they would be able to score 4 times in the red zone with also a field goal. I would see that with 2 Saquon Barkley touchdowns. I would see maybe 1 rushing touchdown for Jalen Hurts and a passing touchdown for the Eagles. So I would have the Eagles winning 31-27 or something in that range. But feel free to let me know your predictions for the Super Bowl here, and I'll see you later.